So the failure of most relationships begin with a problem in communication. Either there's poor communication or communication dies with time. But I think communication is very important. I think that as blood is to the body, so is communication to the relationship. In my view, I see communication as the blood of the relationship. Just like blood transports oxygen into the body, into other parts of the body, and takes out carbon dioxide and nutrients and transports waste to where it's supposed to be taken out of the body. So does communication. It puts a relationship in balance, it puts a relationship in health, it puts a relationship in a thriving mode. But then with time, it's like as the relationship grows, more especially in marriage, communication begins to face challenges, whether it just dies off or it becomes very poor. All of a sudden, people that used to understand each other very well, they don't understand each other very well. But the question is, what are the things that a couple should watch out for in order to maintain a thriving communication system in a marriage? What are they? Because I think there are things that you can look out for to mitigate whatever suffocates communication, whatever kills communication, whatever damages or corrupts communication in marriage. Are there things that a couple can look out for in order to make sure that their relationship does not
Suffocate.
suffer a communication breakdown?
I tend sometimes I think with time communication dies because of assumptions, where you just assume they mean this, you assume they mean that, so you don't ask. But because you have assumed, you also take a certain position because of what you have assumed. What you have assumed is information on its own, isn't it? So if you've assumed something, it will put you in a certain state of mind, and it will trigger certain reactions.
But don't you think assumption comes from the fact that I feel like I know you?
Yeah.
So isn't it expected that at some point I can assume what you want? So
Almost.
so how do we separate that from
That's why you're getting to know someone, so that you know they like this. So basically, whatever you think you know, you have assumed off of what you know about them, isn't it? Well, I still think assumptions are dangerous because dating doesn't stop when you get married. You continue to get to know this person. And this person will not be the same person that you dated. This person will evolve continuously. So there are things that will stay constant, and then there are things that will change.
I think you have a valid point, because I think that the problem with assumption takes away the fact that despite me knowing you, you are a living being who is still going through changes.
Yeah.
And so, even when I know you very well, I should never get to a point where I comfortably assume that I understand and know everything that you want, that you need, that you like. I should leave room for the fact that
You're growing, you're changing,
you
you're
are a growing
evolving.
person and a changing person.
Yeah.
So having confidence of knowing someone after living with them for a long time shouldn't take the place of understanding the fact
Still
that
asking and talking
yeah,
instead of assuming.
yeah,
But sometimes assumptions are also taken. You just assume they will do this or they mean this because they keep doing the same thing. But then people change. For example, if someone is doing something that's frustrating you consistently, you are likely, hello,
sit down.
come
What do
and
you
sit.
want?
Is this in here?
Yeah.
If someone is doing something that consistently frustrates you, you are likely to stop talking about that thing and just assume that this is what they're going to do. Not based on what you used to know, based on what you know currently.
Yeah.
But then there's a chance that they could
Get-
have woken up to this. So I think either way, go and sit on the bench. Here, carry your juice.
I'm carrying my juice.
Thank you. So I think even if it's based on what you are currently seeing,
Yeah.
there still has to be room to talk. Because sometimes people will frustrate you 2, 3, 4 times and then they realize they're frustrating you and they want to change now. And now is when you have given up. So I think whether you know somebody or you think you know, because sometimes we think we know someone and we actually don't know them. When you're dating people, people are prepared for you when you meet them. They're in a certain state of mind. They've put themselves together, and the ultimate goal is to impress. When you're married, on the other hand, they know they already impressed you and now you're here. And this is where people begin to bring out certain things they didn't bring out in the relationship. I think, whatever the case, assumptions are dangerous.
So we should never be so confident in our relationships in marriage to think that I know you so much so that I shouldn't ask.
I should just assume.
I should just assume. And probably sometimes the assumption, like you said, is based on what I knew about you before. And so I've set it in my mind, this is who you are.
Yeah.
And I'm always expecting you to act a certain, that particular way. And I think that at some point, this becomes assumption, where you have like completely labeled the other person, sort of puts off another person, the person who is being assumed over, puts them in a place where sometimes it's discouraging to even make some improvements, in the sense that you assume that that's what I'll do. So even when I'm working and improving, you'll probably not see those aspects of my areas of improvement, because at the back of the mind there has to be constant communication to talk about where we are and how we are growing. And I think the other thing is, what kills communication is, in the long run, sometimes in relationships or in marriage, we stop or we do not create a safe space, because communication also thrives on the safety that is there
Yep.
in this environment. Like, if I say, or if I ask, what kind of response am I going to get? Okay, if I talk about my struggles or my weaknesses, will I be embraced and helped, or will I be judged? Will I be condemned? Or will I be condemned, or will I be helped? Sometimes you say something, or maybe something goes wrong, and probably because we talked about it, or maybe your partner warned you about it, but you still went ahead So you decide to keep that a secret because the death of communication just begins with just keeping one thing quiet, you know, and it will be another thing, and then there'll be another thing, and there'll be. So now, because you know what kind of partner you have, they will say, they will quickly run to "I told you so" and all that, and you feel judged and condemned and everything. Of course, you did wrong, whatever it might be. But if there's not that safe space of having the confidence that I can be listened to and I can be offered a helping hand, I think that also begins to kill communication. What kind of environment have you created in your marriage to make your spouse, your friend, your loved one feel okay to speak what is going on with them? I think that's the issue. Sometimes maybe I think that that's the issue with, I think it's a universal thing where men complain about women. She'll just be all moody and have an attitude and say, "What's wrong?" And then she'll say, "Nothing." Yeah, of course, sometimes she just wants you to pursue her and, you know, show that you really care. But sometimes the nothing comes because somebody feels, even if I say it, it won't make any difference. It'll just probably make things worse. Maybe I'll be misjudged.
So, in other words, another one thing that contributes to the dying of communication is when one of you begins to feel like I'll be misunderstood. I also think that partly communication dies when one of you keeps saying something and it's not paid attention to. There comes a battle inside between should I say it or should I just adjust. Now the problem is, while this person is thinking like that, they are thinking like that because they are thinking about the survival of this relationship, but then also their own survival. Sometimes when people say something and it's not paid attention to, it plays on their emotions and their psychology. It breeds anger. So sometimes people decide to adjust so that they are not angry. They just accept so it doesn't bother them anymore. But the problem is, while they adjust, the other party is used to a certain kind of treatment. The other person is used to a certain kind of response. When you adjust, there are things that have to change. In order for you to survive in that kind of way, there will be other factors that will play in to help you adjust. So I think as couples, we need to learn to pay attention and hear what the other person is saying, because sometimes it feels like he's petty, she's petty. They keep saying about this, they are ungrateful, they are this, that, this, that. But at the end of the day, what we don't realize is part of the things we are enjoying in that marriage are because that person is like that. And when they change being like that, there are things that are going to suffocate together with that change.
I have grown to understand that
Yeah.
it is never petty if it is bothering someone, more especially in a marriage setting. And I think that's the mistake that we make sometimes, maybe because our levels of perception and understanding of things are different. And then there are things that we feel like they are not serious issues. So when your friend is talking about them, because you in your head, you think and feel, or to you that is not an issue, because as human beings we are different. There are things that really matter, that bother us, that we work hard to change, and then there are things we can tolerate. I've grown to learn that just because you can tolerate it, it doesn't make it a non-issue to your partner. I think that's the mistake that we make in marriage in most cases, because we feel like, but why? I remember, I think, just to help someone, I remember, I think we had a conversation where I think you were talking about something, and then I said, do you think that this one thing negates everything else? I said that coming from the perspective of thinking, look, this is a small issue, just ignore it, or live with it. But just like there are things, I've grown to understand that we need to get to a level where we are willing, if we think it is too small an issue, to step down and make a too small thing to be an issue become an issue for us. Just like there are issues that I will feel like they are very important, they might not be important to you.
Yeah.
But when we come together and begin to live together, we need to understand that, and I think that's where the balance of a relationship is, where you are willing to go down to the level of your partner, where you feel like they are too low, you think that this is nothing. You go down to their level and make it an issue with them. So like you said, for some, it is those small non-issues that make them who they are. And once they grow to a level where those small issues become nothing, then it would have changed them. And there will be repercussions. And like I said, that one thing gives birth to the other.
I think we need to pay more attention to one another. And I think the other thing that a lot of couples take lightly, don't make promises you're not going to honor. Yeah? Because if you make promises that you don't honor, down the line, your promises will mean nothing. Your words are going to mean nothing. And when they stop meaning anything, when you talk and you realize that what you say means nothing, you will feel disrespected. But what is never said usually is that you're being disrespected because of something you've been doing, because respect is earned. But every time the issue of I'm not respected, I said this and it's not respected, every time that issue comes up in relationships, we all look at who's not respecting whose word without realizing that there is a trigger. There's a trigger because first of all, you are together because you promised each other love. So if she or he couldn't honor your words and your promises from the beginning, you wouldn't be together in the first place. So the question is, where did your words start being empty? So I think couples should avoid making promises for the sake of silencing the other person. I know sometimes there are couples where one of them talks a lot and the other one just wants to get away. And so what they're saying is not really because that's what they mean. It's just like, can we shut up already? Can we get over with this?
Yeah.
It's almost like, okay, whatever you want, okay, fine. You know? But at the end of the day, we have to understand that whatever we said fine to, the other person is going to be expecting. And if we don't fulfill that promise, our next promise, even if it stands on life and death, will not be treated right.
Yes.
And will not be treasured or respected, because that reputation that you have built in that home is not one that should be honored.
On promises, I'm thinking about a scripture in Ecclesiastes. I don't know if I can find it. I'm thinking about a scripture in Ecclesiastes 5:4. When you make a pledge, when you make a vow or a pledge to God, do not put off paying it, for God takes no pleasure in fools.
That's very
now,
strong.
That is, of course, to God, but in
God
essence,
sees you as
the
a fool
idea
for not
is,
honoring promises.
in essence, the idea is making promises that you can't fulfill
It's not wise.
is not wise. Because A man is as good as his word. A human being is as good as their word.
Yeah.
Now, if you cannot honor your very word, then you lack integrity. So it will be difficult to be respected in that way, like you have already said. That also can kill communication because it breeds frustrations. And so it's like whatever we talk about and whatever we are going to agree ends nowhere.
Yeah, so it's pointless to have these conversations.
Yeah.
When there's that feeling, the actual conversations stop going down. You see, you know, a lot of couples are afraid of having differences. If you ask me, I think differences, healthy differences, are a good sign in a marriage. A lot of couples feel like silence is better than talking. I've heard men who say, you talk too much, or women who say, you talk too much. I would rather have a talking person than a silent, completely silent person. I think a relationship where there is even just a difference, as long as it is a healthy difference, because there is a difference between having a difference and having a quarrel. But when promises are not honored or stop to talk, eventually just having conversation comes to an end. Now, a lot of people don't realize that not talking is a red flag. They think...
So actually, the fear to differ...
The fear to differ...
is another killer of communication.
Is another killer of communication, and it's a red flag. First of all, there is the feeling that you are afraid of what is going to come out of what you're going to say. You need to understand that in marriage, although people say some things are better left unsaid, in marriage, things are better said. Because whatever you haven't said is still in you, and it will birth reactions and actions that when they come up, they will not be understood because we don't know where it's coming from. And those actions will trigger another set of actions and reactions in your friend, which you two will not understand because nobody talked about why these reactions are coming, and then you will react again. So you have a chain series of reactions that are not understood.
So the fear to differ or the fear to quarrel you build walls around yourself.
Yeah.
Which becomes a killer of communication in itself.
When you build those walls, your friend builds an army to demolish those walls.
Yeah.
And that army doesn't know what it's fighting.
Yeah. I like that one.
So, because wars are for defense or for attack, the other one will develop an army that they don't know if they are attacking or defending. That creates a bigger problem because there's no objectivity.
Yeah, because all of a sudden you have, and you see, when a person builds walls, they don't even have to say it. You can feel, all of a sudden your friend is unreachable. They are here, but you cannot access them. And that just makes things worse. So it's better I say it, we differ.
But we all know what we have here than having white elephants, or what do they call it? Let's address the elephant in the room. Having elephants that are unaddressed.
So this is in comparison to the first thing. To the second point, we need to build a safe space. I shouldn't try to look out for my safety by avoiding us to address issues that really matter because I'm afraid that we are going to quarrel and we are going to differ. The last thing, I think that a feeling of superiority over your partner, unfortunately, is sad enough. There are couples where one feel like they are better.
Actually, most couples, women feel like if I'm not here, you cannot run this home. Of course, the Bible says the wise woman builds her house with her hands. It doesn't mean that the man is just a headless chicken moving around. But then also, we also have a challenge where men feel like the wife is just dull. Like they live with this dumb person. That feeling that I'm more intelligent, whatever she says doesn't matter anyway, you see it even generally. It comes out of their homes. A lot of men who feel like their wife is Tao, they take it everywhere. They think every woman is Tao.
Yeah.
So a woman can't start or participate in a meaningful conversation. It's a superiority thing they have over gender. And then there's also women, like I said, who also feel like men are just bad planners. So sometimes it's those biases that kill communication. If I know you think I'm down, what's the point of me?
And there's an aspect of
advising?
where maybe we are dealing with an issue, where we are dealing with an issue to do with our marriage, where instead of talking as equals, I begin to teach you, begin to treat you and talk to you like I am your teacher. I'm teaching you, or let me use, I think the correct word is talking at you instead of talking to
down
each
to
other, you know.
yeah.
I think that also, so I feel like I know more, I'm more experienced. This also happens more especially in Christian marriages, where probably one
He's a minister.
is a minister or is more spiritually, committed,
Or looks or feels more spiritual.
or feels
Sometimes
more
being
spiritual.
spiritual and feeling more spiritual are not the same thing.
Yeah. So there are these aspects where a person, instead of us communicating, it has become a counseling session.
So one-way thing.
I don't think that we can have a counseling session when we are dealing with an issue to do with our marriage. Maybe on other things, yes, but when we are talking about marriage, I think we are equal partners.
Especially if it is our marriage.
So our marriage, we are equal partners, and therefore our communication must be, so a sense of superiority where you feel. And then there's also the aspect where I'm reminded of something that one pastor said. He said, if you're seated with your spouse, look at your spouse. I want you to know that that is the level you could afford.
Because that's the level
So now I'm driving this to the point that there's this aspect where people get married and with nothing. But as they go on, probably one begins to advance in education, they begin to advance in career, they begin to be more exposed to the world and things that are happening around the world. As a result, they begin to feel like you are not my type anymore. You know, you are beneath me. You know, you are not that. You have forgotten where you are coming from and how you started. That also, so that sense of superiority where you feel like I'm better, I think I deserve much better now, maybe because you have advanced in your career, in your profession, in your education, and whatever it is, you begin to feel like I'm more special. So we don't click anymore, you know. So your partner will go quiet because they feel, what can we talk about? We are not the same anymore.
I think also if you don't agree with your spouse, the way that you answer, the tone, the way that you communicate, you're not agreeing.
Yes.
Being married doesn't mean that we'll always agree. We can agree to disagree.
Yeah.
But it's the way that not agreeing is communicated. Just because you don't agree with something doesn't mean that I'm not thinking properly.
Your response would determine whether this conversation can go on or
And
stop.
or whether we'll even have another conversation
Whether
again.
we'll have another conversation
Or not.
after this or not.
It's okay for people to not agree with your perspective. I think it's not really about not agreeing. I think you can't expect everyone to agree with you. But while you don't agree, you need to have in mind that you're not the most intelligent. Probably what the other person is saying has got sense. So you need to reconsider. Every time there's a person who never takes advice but wants to be heard, who never wants to hear but wants to be heard, there's a problem. And the problem is pride and arrogance. That's what causes that. So even in a marriage, just like anywhere else, professionally, in any setting, all of us must have the ability to speak and to hear. Actually, to hear more, you know, like the Bible says, be quick to listen, slow to speak. If you are too quick to speak, it's a red flag. In a marriage, actually, if that keeps happening where every time you cannot hear your spouse because you need to be heard, because you have a need to be seen as the wisest, because you have a need to be agreed with, because if your spouse disagrees, then there's something wrong with them. That marriage will not last, or it will last, but it will be miserable. Because eventually, your spouse is gonna shut down. And like I said, a lot of couples think that not talking is better than talking. Not talking is very dangerous. Because one day, by the time people get to a point where they don't talk anymore, they are healing, they are going through life alone. They are starting to not need another person. They are learning to live independent. And if that continues, that's where you just find you don't know what the problem is, and one of you just walk. When people stop talking, it's dangerous, because while they are not talking, they are learning how to be independent. They are learning that they don't need the other person to talk to. Eventually, when they learn how to survive that and handle things individually, it will begin to look like a burden to have another person. That's why you find people just walked out. And when help is coming, let's sit down, they're not interested anymore, because they healed in silence. They moved on in silence. When people stop talking, it's dangerous, because they begin to learn to live alone. They begin to learn that they don't need, the need for communicating with another person is not there. And so they heal in silence. That's why you just wake up one day, one of you is gone. So it's important that we create an atmosphere where, even if we are not going to agree, but at least we can talk. When there's talking, at least you know what's going on in the mind of your friend. You know what to expect. You have the room to think about how to chip in, how to help, how to be more relevant. When there's silence, you are blocked out. You can only wait for the actions and the reactions. And at that point, that is beyond redemption. So I think whatever happens with communication, can we please keep a space where we can talk? Because not talking is game over.
Yeah. Well, I think this is all we had for you. Hope you are blessed with our conversation. The Lord bless you. Shalom.
Shalom.